Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Wheel Hot Girl Shit with Danica Whitsitt. I'm your host, and thank you guys for watching. If you guys are watching, and thank you for watching the previous videos. This has been so fun and something I've looked forward to for a while. I just love podcasting and I love getting to share more about my life with you guys and talk about everything. And so, thank you guys for tuning in every week. And I'm so excited to bring on some special guests soon. Let's throw back to the very fucking beginning. I'm so sorry if I cuss too much on my podcast for you. I kind of have a what's it called? A pirate mouth? A dirty mouth? I don't know if that makes sense. So, today we'll be talking a little bit about childhood and growing up and a little bit about my accident. And you guys are just going to get to know me more on a more personal level because I feel like I share a lot about my life online, but I don't really share. Well, I do tend to share a lot about mental health and the bad things in life as well, and trials and tribulations, but I feel like I haven't gone in depth about a lot of my life, so let's get into it. And if you guys would love to share, like, subscribe, no, we're gonna cut that out. We're gonna cut that out. Okay. So, throwback to the beginning, I was born in Kirkland, Washington. My dad and my mom had me a year after their wedding. They got married in 1996. I was born in 1997. And I had eczema, allergies, and asthma right when I was born. So basically, I came out of the womb not breathing. Shocker. If you know me, you know I have asthma, and so that's not surprising. But I had to get antibiotics right when I was a newborn, so they think that's what caused my asthma, allergies, and eczema. The trifecta, if you if you decide to call it that. But yeah, so growing up, I had a lot of health issues, but also my mom had severe depression, and so she was battling that as well. And so when I was 4 years old, she ended up actually taking her own life, and that was a really, really hard thing. Not obviously in the beginning because I was too young to really understand what was happening, but I just think about my poor dad and my poor family, and of course, I was so sad as well. I do have one solid memory of her, and I was playing pretend doctor on her. And that's the only real solid memory I have. Everyone in my family tells me how much my personality is like her and how much I look like her in some moments. And I honestly, that's like the biggest compliment to me because I have heard nothing but amazing things about my mom, and I just want to make everyone feel loved. And I feel like that's why mental health is such a big topic for me and something I love to share about because I don't want anyone to feel alone in the way that she did. And I don't want anyone to feel that terrible in general. I want people to be happy and to feel loved by me. And that's all that I could ever ask for my interactions with people. But yeah, I get that question a lot about why mental health is such an important topic for me. And that is why, just losing my mom in that way really engraved in my head that I want to treat everyone with kindness, and I never want someone to leave an interaction with me feeling bad. Um, but yeah, so then it was just me and my dad for a while, and the next couple years, like until I was 18, we were moving a lot. We were in a lot of different households. So my dad got remarried to a woman named Christy, and she had 4 kids, and so they became like my brothers and sisters, and I love all of them dearly. They are still a part of my life. And yeah, they're just great people. But eventually, after 5 years, 3 to 5 years, I can't remember the exact time, but they ended up getting a divorce, and they ended up moving to Spokane, which was 2 hours away from us, and we were in Tri Cities. And so yeah, I grew up in Tri Cities. If you didn't know that, if you don't know where that is, it's Eastern Washington. It's a really small, I mean, it's not small anymore, but when I was growing up, it was pretty small. And yeah, I really loved it. But yeah, anywho, back to the divorce. So they got divorced, and that was really hard on me because they were like my brothers and sisters, and kind of I ended up calling Christy mom because she was my mom in those formative years when you're starting to remember things and you're starting to um, gain memories and know what's going on. 6 years old, 5 years old, 7 years old. Like that was when a lot of memories I have of childhood. That's when they begin. So that ended up not working out, and we ended up moving in with my grandparents for a while. Loved them to death. It was so much fun just to be with them because I loved their presence as well. But that was kind of hard for me just because I had a family, and it ended up that we had visitations for a while, but then I ended up not getting to see them as much because they had moved away. And so then my dad had we're just gonna like skip over a little of that part. Basically, he was. I'm just airing out Dan's dirty laundry. Sorry, Dad, if you're watching this, love you. But basically, we were in and out of a lot of houses because of relationships that my dad had been in, and so I would get some step siblings, and then we would eventually move out, and then he dated a girl for a while in high school that I loved all of them. They are so sweet, so I will not be bashing anybody on here. And then when I got out of high school, I just had told myself that I wanted to branch out and be free of having someone else control where I was moving all the time. Because even though I love my dad, love you to death, but it has been nice to make my own decisions and to be out and to decide where I'm going to live and who I'm going to live with. And so, right after high school, I ended up moving to San Diego to pursue volleyball at San Diego City College. And what had happened was the coach had said, "This is the amount of money that we're looking to give you. You just need to come and practice with us during the summer. And then we'll give you this scholarship, and then you will play with us during the year." And it was a community college. So I was planning to go for 2 years, play volleyball, have a blast. Volleyball was my favorite sport when I was not in a wheelchair. I mean, it still is my favorite sport. I love to play. I ended up moving to San Diego, played volleyball the whole summer with them, July, August, and then school was about to come around. And I was asking, do I have the money? Because I couldn't afford to go to the school without the money because I was paying for my own school. I didn't have, you know, people paying for school for me. And she was like, "Oh, well, you have to talk to the financial aid office." And so I went and talked to them. There was no money. Anyways, long story short, I ended up not being able to go to San Diego City College for volleyball. I spent 2 whole months practicing with the team, like double days and running a hella miles and all that shit for it not to work out, which is totally fine. In the moment, it really sucked because I love San Diego and I wanted to keep playing volleyball and I wanted to go to school. And I was like, oh my gosh, my only option is to take a gap year and to reapply in the fall and go to college somewhere else. And so I stayed in San Diego for a couple months, ended up going back home to Washington to save some money. And then fall came around and I had applied to GCU. And GCU is Grand Canyon University in Arizona. If you don't know, now you know. Love GCU. Will always talk great things about GCU because that place gave me so much, but ended up going there, moved to Phoenix, and had the best year of my life. Like, it was the best year. And I met all new friends. I got random roommates because I only knew two girls that were going to the school. And I was like, this is a fresh start for me. I'm excited. And I had just gone through a breakup. So I was like, oh my gosh, how could I even forget that? We have to rewind a little bit. Well, sophomore year of high school, I came out as a lesbian, and I was dating my girlfriend at the time. Um, and I went to a Catholic school in high school. So, elementary school, I went to two different elementary schools. They were both public, they were in one of the cities. And then I ended up moving to a different city. And so I ended up going to a Catholic middle school, St. Pat's. Love you, St. Pat's. And that's where I met all my private school friends. And then after that, I went to Tri Cities Prep. My dad worked there, he was the football coach, yada, yada. It was a lot of fun because it was a smaller school, but they had so many rules and we had mass every Friday. It was very, a very not too strict, but it was very strict. Actually, I say not too strict as if we weren't able to go off campus for lunch except when we were seniors and for one day a week. Like, a what? Anyways, back to the story. So when I was a sophomore, I was dating this guy, and then I ended up falling for one of my best friends, and we ended up dating. And honestly, they called me into the principal's office when I came out because they were like, it comes to our attention that you two are dating. And we were like, yeah. And they were like, okay, well, we just want to let you know that your PDA rules remain the same. And we were like, yeah. And they were like, okay, well, we just don't want to make anybody uncomfortable. I'm like, okay. And then we left, and that was that. But anywho, so now going back to GCU, me and that girl had just broken up, and so I was freshly single. I just wanted a fresh start. A lot of my friends had already gone to college for a year. I was getting into college, and so both my roommates at GCU had been to 1 year of college before too, so they were my age, but entering as freshmen as well. So honestly, that made me feel so much better. And now they're two of my bestest friends in the whole world. So I love them and I love GCU. It was such a solid year. I made so many friends. It was such a fun time. And then that summer, we decided that we were going to stay in Phoenix and we were going to get an apartment with some of our friends. And so we did that. I slept on the floor of an apartment with two guys in okay, so it was a 1 bedroom apartment. There were 3 guys and then me and Vanessa, 2 girls. There were 5 people in the apartment. We were all sleeping on the floor. Me and the 2 guys were in the bedroom. That sounds weird as fuck now that I say it out loud. But we were all friends. It was totally normal. But we were sleeping on the ground. We didn't even have air mattresses. What were we doing? Anywho, we were broke, okay? We were broke college students. So the accident. So basically, my bestie Vanessa and her boyfriend at the time, they were going on a trip to Oregon, and they were going to fly to Oregon, spend some time with her family, and then we were going to get her new car and drive it down. So they were going to do that. But then Vanessa was like, it would be so fun if you came. And I was like, oh my gosh, I want to go. So we were going to road trip from Oregon to Arizona with her new car. And so it came to the day when we were going to get the car and we were going to head out. So we got the car, everything was good, and it was a Toyota RAV4, and it was so nice, and we were so excited to get it back to Arizona. So we started our road trip, and we split the driving. We kind of did half and half. I drove right before San Francisco, and we stayed there in the car for the night because I was exhausted, and we got to see the Golden Gate Bridge, and we got to see the Robin Williams Tunnel. It was so amazing. And then we were driving home, and Vanessa's boyfriend had drove and for the last like couple hours or so, and so we were driving, and Vanessa was asleep in the passenger seat, and I was asleep in the back seat without my seatbelt on, so I was laid out the whole way. And I remember waking up like 45 minutes away from home, and I asked him like, hey, are you good? Want to make sure you're good, and do you want me to stay awake with you? And he was like, no, you're okay, Dinky. He used to call me Dinky. So I was like, okay, perfect. And so I fell back asleep, and that's the last thing I remember before waking up from my coma in the hospital. So I was in an induced coma for 3 days, just because of all of, I had to have emergency surgery on my spine, obviously, and I got paralyzed at T12L1, and so that's where my surgery ended up being. I did get a fracture in C6 up here, but ended up being okay. And then so Nessa's boyfriend, he was in a coma, an induced coma for 2 weeks. He had a lot of, he had a traumatic brain injury, and he had a lot of swelling in the brain, so they had to keep him in an induced coma for longer. And Vanessa had broken her hip, and so they didn't do surgery or anything. They did give her a walker, and they kept her in one of the rooms for a night, but then she obviously wanted to come down and see what was happening with us. And so basically they don't know what had happened for sure. What they think had happened was that our driver essentially had possibly fallen asleep and then hit the car next to us, and then woke up and overcorrected, and we started rolling, and I got ejected into the median. I was like, woo! And so and then they rolled all the way to the other side of the highway. So it was a 2-lane highway going this way, and then on the other side it was a highway going that way. So they landed right side up, facing on the opposite highway. And the driver that we initially hit, and we don't know if they hit us or we hit them, but they kept driving. So initially they thought it was a hit and run because they did not stop when we spun out and started rolling. And so I woke up from the coma 3 days later, and the doctor came in and was like, you're not gonna walk again. And I was like, great. And it was just kind of quick like that. They tell you right away, and then I was in the hospital for 10 days, and then I got moved to a rehab, and it was in Buckeye, Arizona. It was 30 minutes away from our home in Phoenix, which they always say that it happens 30 minutes or less away from home. But yeah, so Raw ended up going to the same rehab as me, Vanessa's boyfriend, after. And so we got to spend some time there. All of our friends came to visit from college because we were still in Arizona. And honestly, it was like a big party. That was before COVID. So it was a free for all. Everyone came to spend the night, everyone came to visit. I felt really blessed that I had the support system that I did. My dad flew down from Washington, and my cousin had actually been the first one that was there with me. I think she drove from Irvine, but she drove to be with me in the hospital while my family was flying in. But yeah, my dad stayed with me the entire time I was in the hospital and in rehab, and we had some friends really generously offer him a place in Arizona so he was able to go home, spend the night there, and not have to stay in the freezing hospital room with me. I don't know why, but I loved it. At like literally 55 degrees, my body temperature could not regulate after the accident. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. And so my girlfriend at the time had flown in, and that's when she proposed, was um, right when I woke up from my coma. So yikes. But yeah, and I was really out of it. Like, I thought I was in a bunk bed. It was a lot of drugs I was on and a lot of pain, just laying flat in the hospital for so many days. And I didn't have my phone. And by the time I had woken up, all my friends back home had put together a GoFundMe for me. Taylor and Rachel, you guys are the best. And it was just honestly so amazing to see all the support I got from back home, from everywhere that I had been in Arizona, just the people rallying behind me and making sure that I felt loved and taken care of, because it was such a scary time and there was a lot of financial stress. I ended up having to file bankruptcy after the whole thing because I had over $1 million in medical bills. And so, um, that's not fun. And it's only on my record for 2 more years. We're almost there. We're almost there. But yeah, so I ended up getting engaged, and no one thought to tell me maybe that's not a great idea, because this is a very emotional state to be in, because I had just lost my legs. What were they going to say to me? So yeah, I healed back home with Marie and my dad and everyone back home in Washington for a year. And then I ended up moving to Virginia. I was only there for 3 months, and then I headed back to Washington. And then I just ended up staying with Marie for a while longer. And if you don't know who Marie is someone who is so special to me. She's like a mother figure to me, but she's also one of my childhood besties' moms. And that's where I stayed after the accident, because my house wasn't accessible yet. And she is just the saints of all saints. If you know Marie, you know she's an angel and she would do anything for her people. And that's how I strive to be. I just always say, oh, I want to grow up to be like Marie. Like, she's just an angel. So if you're watching, Marie, I love you. Um, but yeah, so it was a fun time being with Marie. And then me and Dom obviously started hanging out as friends again, reconnected. And then my friend had an apartment in Miami, and I was like, want to move to Miami? This is crazy. But it was during COVID, everything was open in Miami. So honestly, it was such a good time. Dom will say otherwise, but it's okay. And then, eventually we moved over to San Diego, and now we are here in LA. So it's kind of been a whirlwind of a lot of different things throughout life. And I feel like it's important to talk about, though, because everyone's life is so different and everyone grows up differently and everyone goes through their own trials and hard times. And I feel like a lot of people go through things and feel like they're alone. And I just want everyone to know that you are not alone, and there's always someone there to talk it out with you. And just always ask for help and reach out, because I know there's someone who loves you and wants to help you out and never wants you to be sad and never wants you to go through anything alone. And I just feel so, so grateful for all the people around me. I feel like I have such an amazing support system. I have such an amazing family. I have such an amazing group of friends. I just love, love, love the people around me. And I feel like that's so, so, so important. And I hope that I am a not a role model, but just someone you can look at and be like, life doesn't always have to be you going through the struggles, and there's always light at the end of the tunnel. There's always been amazing times in between the bad ones, and I know that that seems like a lot of trauma to have in a life, and I'm sure a lot of people think to themselves, oh my gosh, how am I ever going to get out of this trauma? How am I ever going to break free from my childhood, or break free from my accident, or how am I going to live normal again? And I just want people to know that it is possible and there's always a way, and there's always more amazing and fun times to be had, and more fun times to look forward to, and things to look forward to, and people to spend time with. And yeah, I just feel really grateful for being able to share this with you guys. And thank you for listening today. And I know it was a more serious episode, but I kind of wanted to give you like a sneak peek, just a little bit of background of my childhood, how I grew up, and kind of like my life story, as in what I've gone through and stuff, because I just want people to know that I am a happy girly and I am a smiley girly, but there are dark times, and I work to get through those and feel those out. I didn't used to be a feeler of emotions. Dom so graciously called me out on that when we started dating. He said, you don't really talk about your feelings. And I'm like, what? But therapy has been such a beneficial thing that I've started. I don't know where I'd be without therapy. It makes me so happy, and it honestly makes me feel like I'm actually working through this stuff instead of just shoving it to the side, which I have had people in my life who have done it that way as well. And that's, you know, I mean, I wouldn't say that's totally okay. It's totally okay, but I just want everyone to receive that help as well. And I just want everyone to not feel like the weight of the world is on their shoulders and that they can't speak to someone about it and ask for that help and get that help, because it is just so freeing to the mind. And I know therapy is um, such a privilege, because it does cost money and some insurances don't cover it. And, it is something that you have to get approved for and all of that. But I feel like if you're able to do it, and if you're able to get one, and if you're able to find someone who takes your insurance provider, it is so, so beneficial and worth it. So, yeah, I just wanted to share all of that with you guys. And if you have any more questions, as always, you can always reach out to me and ask. But I love you guys so, so much. And thank you so much for listening today. And I will see you guys next week. Bye.